Hi, everyone. I'm going to discuss professional liability applications. These are manuscript policies, very different from property and liability and workers' comp policies in that they are custom. Each carrier can write their own policy language, and professional liability is tied around professional services. So they're going to ask, they need to know a lot about what the professional is doing. So let's start, and everyone's talked a lot about the name of the applicant, but so many times I'm going to talk to you about things that actually I see quite often on applications where they'll put, John Smith as the name of the applicant, and then I go down to item number 6 and I look and see that they've marked corporation. I know I've got a problem at that point because the corporation's name is most likely not John Smith. And so the information, the named insured, needs to be very accurate, because if you have a lawsuit when you're dealing with professional liability, which is typically what would be the reason for carrying the policy, or an E&O mistake, you would have to have the right named insured on the policy for coverage to be afforded. So it becomes really important to get that information accurate right up front so that you don't end up with a policy that has the wrong named insured. Number 7 really is another very important, and everyone's talked a little bit about this, but this is where you need to really define the professional services being rendered. And you can't give it like just a phrase answer. You really need to look at their website. You'll see that I highlighted the website address up at the top, because guess what? The underwriter is going to go there, and even if you don't give the website, they're going to Google it and they're going to find it and do their own research. Ideally, you want to know everything up front so that you actually present a clean submission to the carrier. And so knowing what presenting themselves out on the website as, and then getting a detailed description of all types of services. Sometimes people like to be, they like to do be very diverse in the amount of things that they're trying to do for services, and sometimes that's a problem when it comes to insurance. So keep that in mind. Also, professional liability policies are rated based on gross receipts. So that becomes an important area. That information needs to be accurate. Most professional liability policies are not auditable, but they are based on the honor system. And obviously, this application becomes part of the policy, the completed and signed application. So obviously, if there's any misrepresentation on the application, I've seen a carrier pull the policy and actually just cancel it all the way back to inception date and return the premium when someone has misrepresented on an application. So it's really important for the information to be accurate. So now I'm going to show you that was more of a general consulting type application. Now professional liability carriers, they will break out some of these classes of business because the coverages need to be very customized for that class of business. Technology is one of those, and so that becomes a whole different approach. I've highlighted again the description of operations is I'm not going to go over what I've said already, but that is still a very important part. But with technology, they want to ask even more questions. So you'll see what does your business do under that description of operations. And then they actually have boxes that you can check for types of services that are in the technology arena. So that becomes a very important part. And again, looking at that website becomes super important to know what they are doing specifically. Here's another example. this one happens to be for architects and engineers. It's just a different way of describing, asking for information. So they're listing out most of the types of services that an architect or an engineer and this also will cover construction management. You can see that's in there as well. And then they're asking for the last fiscal year, current year, and then the number of licensed staff for doing the services, and then that percentage needs to add up to 100% in order for it to be accurate and break it down properly. And again, this is a property management application. I'm just showing you different ways that carriers gather information on different classes of business. So for a property management company, they want, again, it's going to be rated on revenues, but they're actually going to break it down on that particular application by the type of properties that they're managing. And some of those are going to be, the rate's going to be higher than the rate on others. And you can probably guess which ones those are. So they're looking for the revenues, the gross revenues, gross income that company is earning from each of those particular types of properties managed. And it's what you want the past 12 months, you want the projected for the next 12 months. They will rate off of the next 12 months projected income. And then they are asking for number of units, generally speaking. Now, in this case, that's properties managed. Many of our carriers will actually add real estate sales income as well. So you want to break that out. One is property management, and the other is real estate sales. So there's the second box, or the second section, H and I, will cover that for you and gives you that ability to have both services insured on one policy. Another important thing to look at with professional liability policies, you really need to know the insurance that they currently have. You want to list out the insurance company. You want that policy period, because you never really want to move an E&O policy midterm, because you want that retroactive date and everything to stay consistent. So it's always better to be moving it at the expiration of the policy. You want to know the limit of liability, because that's important. You either want to match it or improve it. And premium becomes obviously important. We're trying to beat that premium or at least match it and provide better coverage. So that's going to be important. Retroactive date is very important. So if they don't have any current insurance, then you won't have a retroactive date. Actually, the retroactive date would be the inception date of the policy if you were to bind one. So so knowing whether they've got insurance or not, and if they do, you really need to know that retroactive date. Deductible is important because that varies a lot by carrier, so that becomes an important. And you can see here, there's errors and omissions, there's tenant discrimination, and employment practices liability being asked for here. Also, another area is claims. It will be important. You're going to see these same type of questions on every E&O, professional liability application, and it becomes important. You really have to find out whether they've got claims or not. I've had some, you see situations over and over again. Sometimes someone reports a notice to a carrier and it leaves an open claim that never gets closed on there. And so it's always a good idea for that, to get the insured to order the loss runs and make sure that there have not been any lawsuits, because that will impact, a viable quote. Certainly we'll give you a quote, but it's going to be subject to no claims. And if there are claims, then that definitely could jeopardize whether that carrier will honor that quote or not. And that becomes an important part. And having prior notice or knowledge of a claim, that you've got to answer all these questions accurately, because, again, you don't want to misrepresent, because this becomes part of the policy. Professional liability is a different beast, and all of the applications, you notice that I didn't show you an Accord app at all. I pulled from many different applications that are for professional liability carriers. And so you just have to, we've got a great, Lexi Johnson is our professional liability new business underwriter, and she's really good and can help you find your way through these applications if you have questions.